My fake therapist almost ruined my life. I've had a few traumatic events happen in my life. About 5 years ago, I decided it was finally time to deal with it. So I did what anyone would do. I started therapy. I had done therapy with a few other providers in the past, so I was pretty familiar with the structure, but what transpired got pretty intense. I started seeing someone who I thought was a trauma therapist, although she did have a master's degree. I think BC was hanging on her wall. First red flag was that I saw her on her couch in her living room. I knew it was kind of weird at the time, but didn't read too much into it. Things started to get weirder when she began insisting I had dissociative identity disorder, DID. She said that I had alters that would come out in the session and talk to her, that I had male alters, that I have kid alters, IAGK, all kinds of stuff. I had never even heard of DID, and I did not feel like any of that was actually happening. I was so confused. If I confronted her about it and said that I didn't feel like that matched what I was dealing with, she would argue, double down, and say that I had poor awareness of my issues. I asked if I could record a session and play it back to hear these other voices. She declined. I also asked if we could have a clock or a phone during the session to see if I lost time, and she declined. Another thing was that she had 2 homes. One was down the street from me and one was over an hour away. She mainly lived at her other home and frequently asked if we could switch the session to that location. Obviously, that's way less convenient for me, so I opted to cancel sessions. She then began insisting I had agoraphobia and that we would have to work on it, and she made going to her other house a therapy goal. I'm generally a homebody, but have never felt like I have agoraphobia. Dealing with her telling me I had DID and agoraphobia was insanely stressful. I felt like I was going crazy because what she said was so different from my experience, but I trusted her. At one point, I thought about an inpatient psych program because I felt like I was out of touch with my reality. She dialed way back after that. I was too ashamed of what I thought was happening to talk about it with my partner or family. Ugh, there's so much more. One of the things she really wanted me to do was report my abuse. I didn't want to. I had no proof. And I was scared of retaliation. I just wanted to heal. Told her this so many times. One day, I show up to the session and my therapist brings out her girlfriend. Uninvited. Her girlfriend is a cop. She's dressed in her uniform and everything. The cop starts trying to get me to report. I'm crying, trying to decline, etc. It was horrible. Like, she totally ambushed me. And yet, I still didn't leave. In fact, I saw this therapist for another year. I'm so embarrassed that I gave this woman so much of my time and money. After 2 years, I finally confessed to my partner all this weird stuff that she was doing. Obviously, he was like, WTF. He helped me draft a text to leave the therapist. I knew I didn't have the strength to tell her in person. Once I sent the text, she blew up my phone, contacted me from different numbers after being blocked, and told me that my mental illness would just get worse and worse. To the surprise of no one, I'm way better without her. There's more crazy things she did. Here's a few more. Hugging. She insisted I hug her at the end of each session. I don't do physical touch and declined, but she still asked me every session and said that she was trying to help me grow by hugging me. Dogs. I have a fear of larger dogs due to being bit as a kid. She had 3 that would bark and jump. She told me it was exposure therapy and would keep them in the room with us during our session. Boyfriend, she wanted me to break up with my incredibly sweet boyfriend, now husband, because she said I couldn't heal when I was in a relationship. Anyways, I feel so stupid for not seeing who she was sooner. But this was all spread out over like 2 years, and I felt a lot of shame about what was happening in our sessions that isolated me from seeking second opinions. I did report this to the state licensing board for therapists, but didn't get much follow-up, however. To my knowledge, this woman is no longer practicing.